Joe Montana played for Notre Dame and spent 16 years in the NFL, winning a record 4 Super Bowls, and we're lucky enough to have him on the other end of our line this morning. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Thanks for being available. I wanted to just take you back to that Super Bowl in Detroit at the Silverdome. You were 14 of 22, 157 yards, 1 touchdown passing, 1 touchdown rushing, beat the Cincinnati Bengals there. You were the MVP. And that all happened right here in Michigan. What do you remember most about that snowy weekend in Pontiac?
Well, we almost didn't make it to the game. I remember we were actually stuck in the bus. I can't remember. I think it was the vice president was coming to the game.
That's right, George Bush.
And I think it was the last time I've taken a bus to the game because we were sitting out there. They stopped all the traffic, and while he was arriving. And it was even Coach Walsh was on the bus, and we had an equipment manager named Chico Norton, and he was making jokes that, "Don't worry, guys, we're ahead 7-0. Chico just scored, and everything will be okay by the time we get there." Because we probably sat still for 20, 25 minutes, and we could see the stadium, but we couldn't, too far to walk and too cold, and so we just. Made it there just in time for warm-ups.
Boy, that's a heck of a way to throw off your mojo when you're going into your first Super Bowl, huh?
Oh, I know it. I know it.
Unbelievable. And then in 1983, you had the Lions out in San Francisco with Monty Clark as the coach, and most of us in Michigan remember him praying on the sidelines as Eddie Murray lined up and missed that field goal that would have advanced the Lions. So that was kind of a tough one for us here in Detroit. But had you had a chance to see Matthew Stafford at all? We didn't get to see him enough the last 2 seasons because he's been injured. But have you had a peek at his action at all?
I've seen a little bit of him. I saw a lot more of him when he was in college. And, I think he's a very talented young quarterback and with a big future ahead of him. It's just sometimes, unfortunately, you get to that point where you get an injury or two right off the bat, and I think he'll be fine once he gets that behind him.
I imagine superstar quarterbacks these days, how things have changed. You threw 22 passes in that Super Bowl, and now superstar quarterbacks throw 50 and 60 passes. Do you think Cam Newton can make it in the NFL?
Well, it's one of those things that you just never know who's going to make it and who isn't. I mean, if the NFL keeps trying to figure it out with these combines and all the questions and tests and things that they put these guys through these days, but it just goes to show that you just still don't know. You can turn on the film and gives you the best chances, and if you look at what he's done in college, you think he's athletic enough to be able to do it, but the transition from college to the NFL is a lot different than most people expect. There's a lot more of the mental part of the game and studying that has to go on off the field. You almost replace all your college work that you thought you were putting behind you when you got to go play for pay, but that becomes your study time really for when you're in the NFL and the offense that it needs to be able to perform on Sunday.
Speaking of college, were you at the Michigan State Notre Dame game last year in East Lansing?
Yes, I was.
Well, that was a surprise ending, wasn't it? Mark D'Antonio's fake field goal to win. I mean, we were excited about that, and of course, minutes after that, he went to the hospital with his heart condition. But man, I know you were on the wrong end of the stick on that one, but what a finish!
Well, I was lucky. I didn't get to see it. I left.
You did?
I was trying to beat the traffic. I heard it on the radio in the car on the way to the airport.
Oh, my God. I wouldn't tell anybody that if I were you. Although, like you said, you were lucky. If you wouldn't have wanted to see that anyway.
No.
Could you get out there and play these days? I know that you've talked about joint pain, and I know some NFL players who say they still have trouble getting out of bed, let alone playing in the league.
Well, I think one of the things that's happened over the years, you just get so used to dealing with a certain amount of pain that you forget that there are things that take care of it. I've gotten involved with joint juice. Actually, I went to see Dr. Stone about my knee, and he actually talked me out of the surgery and got me started on the joint juice, and it's really made a difference. And I think that the best way to tell is really not when you're on it, but when you if you stop for any anyway. I'll be traveling, and if I don't have it with me, I can really tell a difference in the joints and the lubrication, because I'm very active and I want to remain active, and it's really helped me doing a lot of things I wasn't doing before.
So if I take a shot of joint juice before 18 holes, I'll loosen up nicely?
Well, it takes a number of days to get into your system, and then once you get in there and it starts working on your joints, you'll notice a big difference.
Is that right? Is that a prescription item?
No, you can get it at your local grocery stores and Costco and places like that that carry it.
Joint juice. And so you've got the Do What You Love with Joe Montana contest. How does that work?
Sure do. Well, you get to log on to lovejointjuice.com and give us your story about your success story about joint juice, and got a chance to win an afternoon of doing your favorite activity with me, and also $5,000. So log on there and let's get started. I'm looking forward to having fun with somebody.
I presume there are some limits to the favorite activity. For instance, what if a 30-year-old woman enters the contest and wins, and she wants to have a romantic date with you? Would that happen?
I think that's probably on the limitations.
Okay. What would you hope they pick?
I don't know, something crazy. I like pretty adventurous. So I mean, there's a list of things I think that they can pick from.
Oh, okay.
But but it would be fun.
Yeah. Well, we'll be interested to see how it all shakes out. The web address again?
Lovejointjuice.com.
Lovejointjuice.com, and put your winning story on there, and you could be hanging around with not only the greatest quarterback ever, but what guy who sounds like a pretty good fella. Thank you very much for the chat this morning.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All the best to Joe Montana. You see that? Now, there's an example of an athlete who is in the stratosphere. Do you know what I mean? He's a way beyond superstar. Set NFL records that'll never be matched, perhaps, and he's nice enough to say, hey, I went to the airport. I missed the end of that game. And he was on the bus. Can you imagine, only seconds before the Super Bowl, you're sitting on the bus in Pontiac for that. That's the first time the NFL took the Super Bowl to a cold weather site. And there they were. If you've ever been around the Pontiac Silverdome where the Super Bowl game was, it's in a big, wide open space, and it's surrounded by a freeway and then the Featherstone Road there. And there is really no good way. There's only one or two ways to get in there. And with the Super Bowl crowd coming in, and with Vice President Bush's motorcade coming in, and all the snow that they had, can you imagine, as nervous as you are, the NFL quarterback, you're going to try to get to the game, and there you are on the bus looking at the Silverdome saying, I can't get there in time, and you're looking at your watch, and believe me, those guys have a pregame that comes down to the second. And yet he was Joe Cool. That's why they call him that. He was able to pull it off and win the Super Bowl right here in Michigan, the first of 4. The other thing that amazed me, too, he threw 22 passes in that game. Can you imagine Peyton Manning going in the Super Bowl and throwing only 22 passes? Well, he was still the MVP. That's Joe Montana, and I'm Michael Patrick Shields.